I'm all about like just stepping into the world of the client before I bring them into my world. And, that takes, personalization, and I'm just going to say humanism.
From Reminder Media, this is Stay Paid, a sales and marketing podcast on a mission to help you close more deals and retain more business. Hosted by the VP of Marketing, Josh Steik, and Reminder Media's president, Luke Acree. So get ready to hear the golden nuggets that will allow you to live a life of freedom tomorrow, but only if you take action today.
Get this podcast started. Another episode of Stay Paid. Luke, how are we doing, man?
How are we doing? I was just telling our producers, Andrea and Ariel, that 76, which is the major interstate going into Philadelphia, is back to normal, ladies and gentlemen, with COVID-19. It's back. Man, I was stuck in traffic. I went today. I'll tell this to the audience because maybe you guys don't know this or haven't heard this part of my life yet, but I'm part of this group called YPO. So it's a Young Presidents Organization, and it's an international group, so there's tens of thousands of members, but you have your regional and local chapters. So I think there's like 100 members in the Philly region. It's presidents and CEOs. Okay. But I would encourage everyone that you need to get part of a mastermind type group, even if it's just that moment a month. And we're going to talk today to an unbelievable coach, right? Someone who has the coaching, but it's like, even if it's just that one reflection point a month that challenges you to set the bar higher, because when you get around people that are more successful, like part of the people in my group, like one guy has like 1,800 employees, the other person, multi-million-dollar businesses, and just the way of thinking, the challenging, and I always leave feeling inspired going, yeah, what am I doing? I'm not doing enough.
I've been listening to a lot of what this guy is saying. If you're in real estate and you're looking for what everybody is looking for, it's the listings right now. Our guest today's name is Chadi Bazzi. Shadi Bazzi. Man, we just talked about this. He's a real estate coach and founder.
Josh. No.
Oh, okay. Let me get through this intro, Luke. Come on, fix your mic. And the founder of Top Listing Agent. It's a company teaching agents how to sell more authentically and break the cycle of chasing buyer leads. He's been in business for 20 years. He's sold real estate in 2 markets, the #1 coach for Tom Ferry. He's been on over 30,000 one-on-one coaching calls, and he's on the podcast today. Shadi, welcome to Stay Paid.
Thank you, brother. I am super excited. Just one quick correction there. Was the #1 coach for Tom Ferry.
Oh, I thought I wrote down was. He was the #1 coach.
All good. Yeah. What an amazing experience that was. I'm sure we'll talk about it today because, when you hang around some of the greatest minds, you can't just help but to expand your thinking and expand who you are. And I got to tell you, as Luke was talking about earlier, the mastermind, etc. You're a product of your environment. You're a product of the people that you surround yourself with. Because if people are traveling in a specific direction and you're around those people, guess what? You're going to end up moving in the same exact direction, whether you want to or not.
It's seriously, it's true. It's like the law of nature, man. It's like, it's the temperature. If you set the temperature around you and it's hot, you're going to get hotter. I mean, it's just the way it is. I guess tell us a little bit about, in your bio, you talk about how you left everything, right? You dropped everything and you moved across the country, I think it was, to work for Mike Ferry. Tell us a little bit about your journey into coaching. Give people kind of the background of how you ended up working for Mike Ferry, how you became the #1 coach for Tom Ferry at one point. And then let's dive in specifically to the topic of how do you get listings? Like, what is that? What does it look like? But tell us a little bit about your journey.
Yeah, so I grew up in Dearborn, Michigan, which is a suburb of Detroit. And, my parents had this dream of me like becoming a pharmacist or a teacher or, getting a degree, stuff like that. I hated school, so I ended up doing like odd jobs, delivering pizza, driving an ice cream truck, working at a gas station, seeing somebody get murdered in front of me in Detroit, midnight shift, etc. And I got married at a very young age. So I had a son when I was like 22, 23 years old. And, at that time, my dream was always like, hey, Shadi, when you become a father, I want you to spend more time with your children than your dad spent with you. Because my dad came to this country, with 6 children and $65 in his pocket. And, poor guy, he did the best that he could to, raise us and spend time with us. It's just that every day when I wake up, he's already at work. And when I go to bed, he's not back home yet. And then I found myself doing the same exact thing when my son was born. I was delivering pizza. So I got involved in real estate because I want to give him a better life, etc. And then it was like pizza, real estate. And then I was leaving the house when he was waking up, and I was coming home after he was sleeping. So I was running the same exact pattern. So in that marketplace, I wanted to earn six figures. And the biggest challenge was, we're selling, $30,000 homes, $50,000 homes. You had to sell a ton of homes to make six figures. And it was too far away from me. And I wanted to learn how to do it the right way. So I went and interviewed with the number one agent in that marketplace to be a buyer's agent. And he basically looked at me and he said, "Ghetto, go get it together and come back and see me in 6 months." But he gave me seriously. And then he gave me an audio program, and it was an audio program of Mike Ferry's Superstar Retreat. And, delivering pizza, 5, 10, 15 hours a day. What did I do? I burned through that cassette program. I memorized the heck out of that cassette program. And somebody on there is like, "Hey, I was doing drugs and, alcohol and, and I was able to turn my life around." I was like, "I don't do drugs. I don't do alcohol. I don't even know what alcohol tastes like. If this guy can do it, so can I." And I want that better life. So what I did is I called them up and I said, "I want to come work for you guys." And they're like, "Don't leave Michigan to come here for an interview." But, something inside of me said, "Do it. You got to do it. Like, it can't get any worse than it already is." So, I left my son, who was 2 years old at the time, with his grandparents, packed up my car, sold my house, and drove all the way to Newport Beach. And I've never been to California before in my whole entire life. I interviewed with them. I blew them away because I had their content memorized. They're like, "How could you not hire someone that has your content memorized?" And, they started me off with like, peanuts, nothing. They were just like, "Let's see what this guy can do." And like instantly within the first year, I became like, one of the top, salespeople in that company. But during that year, what I did is I studied. I was exposed to books. I was exposed to, talking about environment we were talking about earlier. Everybody's reading. Everyone's doing affirmations. Everybody's talking about these things that I've never even heard of. I came from the ghetto. Okay. And then my mind started to expand and think bigger. And 4 years into it, I was like, okay, well, we're already earning six figures a year. But these guys, these coaches that work for Mike are earning six figures a month. I want to know what that feels like. So, I went and had a conversation with Mike to resign. And basically, if you know Mike, he just looked at me and he said, "Resignation denied." But I'm giving you a six-figure raise. So, getting a six-figure raise when you're already earning six figures, that's huge back in the early 2000s. So I called up my dad. I said, "Hey, Dad, I just got a six-figure raise. What should I do?" He goes, "Stay." Just like any father would do. It's like, stay. So, I'm a good son. And I stayed for about 30 days. But during that 30 days, I felt stuff I've never felt before in my life. And it was the feeling of like, you've just been bought. You've just been bought. And then this other feeling was like, this guy sees something in you that you don't see in yourself. The only way to find out is to break free and go and try to do this on your own. So got my real estate license, waited for a day that Mike wasn't in the office, and I left. Okay. Went straight to the office the next day. And I still got, my journals, like, I journal, a lot. And in my journal, while prospecting that first day, I put down, "I take my first listing today. I take my first listing today. I take my first listing today." I set an appointment that day, took my first listing in the first 24 hours, and then I was able to put together about $100,000, over $100,000 worth of new listing inventory in my first 30 days. Obviously, it takes time to close the deals and all that good stuff.
Wow.
So this is around the time that Tom Ferry had broken off with Mike, and he started to take notice. And he's like, "Hey, come, come work with me, And I was like, my passion at that point is no longer the money. It was serving, contributing, the shy introvert. If he can do it, I want other people to experience this thing. So I went on and spent about a good 7 more years with Tom, helped him build up his company, created a lot of products underneath the Tom Ferry umbrella, and never had less than 140 one-on-one coaching clients at any given time, had the most in-demand coaching schedule over there. And around 2000, I'd say about 2011, I felt the urge to like, okay, there's another level. And this time it's got to be without a boss. So broke free. I wanted to do things differently. And as they say, the rest is history.
Dang, man. Yeah, that's a powerful story right there. I mean, that golden nugget of feeling like you were bought. Oh my gosh, man, that faith that it took to step out on your own, that's pretty impressive. All right, so there's so many ways we could go in this conversation, so many golden nuggets I'm sure you could give. I want to pick your brain on listings because one of the number one questions we get is the lead generation question is how do I generate leads consistently? But in the real estate business, it's how do I get listings, right? How do I get the listings? Give us kind of your tips on, starting out. What are some of the main things that a real estate agent should be doing from a prospecting standpoint to start generating listings? And then we kind of go into how do you close the listing when you get it?
Yeah. So I'll begin by saying that, a long time ago when I became aware of the world, my mother told me that I was born backwards, that I actually came out backwards. And, to roll that into the story of how do I get more listings, what we do is we do things backwards. Okay. So a lot of people, what they do is they want to go out. Everybody wants leads. Like if you really understand marketing, it's like, we sell people what they want and then we give them what they need. They really don't need more leads. What they need is the ability to lead convert in order for them to become the kind of person who magnetically attracts the leads. So a lot of people that come to me to come to work with me, they come in because they want leads. And then all of a sudden, we're not working on lead generation immediately. We're working on lead conversion. So what I like to do is I like to rewire your mind and equip you with the skills of influence that you can get anyone, anywhere, anytime to do exactly as you want them to do and have them think that it was their idea to begin with. Because when you have that ability, you now have a brand new belief system. And that belief system says, I am destined to do this and I am worthy of doing this. And all of a sudden, what appeared to be difficult to do a very long time ago, like picking up the phone and prospecting, which most people have a hard time doing, they look forward to the next prospecting session because they know that they will create an outcome that day. So we focus a lot on the psychology of, human behavior and, triggers and, and how to tap into, number one, how to tap into the mind. And then number two, how to tap into the heart. And number three, how to connect them together. So it becomes a no-brainer for people to say, I like this guy. I want to work with this guy, whatever it takes. 6%, 7% commission, it don't matter.
Are you doing that through how do I say this? Are you doing that through getting them to read, getting them to meditate? Is it a combination? What are some of the tangible things that, if I was starting out today, how do I tap into that mindset? How do I tap into that heart and connecting that?
Yeah. So, the first thing that we do is everybody begins by building the right foundation, and the right foundation to, basically create the right belief system. So one of the first exercises that we do is we take you somewhere that most people don't go. For example, Luke, I can ask you the question, and the question would be is, hey, when you meet someone, if you've ever met someone and you felt that great connection with that someone and you told them who you really are, what do you tell that person? And I'd have them, write out that story. And when they write out that story and they go back and read that story, they are now aware of the story that they are telling people. And 9 out of 10 times, it's a story that you made up. So you appear to be cool. So all of a sudden, you're not being authentic. So we take them to places in their mind that they've never been. And then what we do is we rewrite the story with authenticity, with sincerity, with genuinity, and with honesty. And we get you to be comfortable within your own skin. And it doesn't take a long time. Some people think that it takes a long time to create. It really takes, let's say 7 days or less in order for you to rewrite that story and begin to live inside of that new story. Now, we take that a step further and we work with you on expanding your awareness, because opportunities are all around you all day, every single day. It's just that your frequencies are either tuned into it or, you got a filter that's tuning everything out. So we work with you on expanding your awareness. It's a very simple exercise that most people either never heard of or never done. And all of a sudden, you're more aware of your senses. You're more aware of your emotions. You're more aware of your surroundings. And you got a new story that you're buying into. So all of a sudden you have like this feeling on the inside that just like, you know, that feeling of like, you know, you're so comfortable and there's no fear and there's calmness. And we try to get you in that mindset like totally in the first 7 days. And then a couple of other things that we do, you know, like journaling every single day and doing affirmations every single day. It's about a 30-minute process. So that's the first thing that we do. The second thing that we do is, you know, before we get into, you know, going out there to generate leads, I want to teach you how to become a master of influence. And I got to teach you the sales process. It's 6 freaking damn steps. And I'll tell you right now, 99% of the agents are following the system backwards. Okay. So we could talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, you got to tell us the steps, man. You got to tell us.
Don't leave us hanging.
Yeah, you got to tell us the 6 steps, man. I'm on the edge of my seat right now.
Exactly. So, you know, a lot of people like, you know, when I get emails and I get text messages and, you know, Facebook messages, and everyone's always asking me, like 9 out of 10 times, it's the question of like, how do I handle this objection? If a buyer says this, what do I say? If for sale by owner says this, what do I say? In, you know, expired, what do I say? And everybody is studying the heck out of how to handle objections every single day, when learning the art and science of objection handling is the least most important skill in the sales process. So everyone is spending their time in the wrong place. The most important, so I'll walk you through all 6 steps. Step number 1 is to assume the sale. Back to the belief system. The sale's got to take place in your mind before it can take place in the physical universe. Because, you know, when you meet with that somebody or talk to that somebody, it's an exchange of energy. Okay. And, you know, you're either giving off the energy of like, I am the expert, I'm the person of authority, you know, I have the confidence, follow my lead, or you're giving off the energy of like, I'm desperate and I'm going to tell you anything and everything that you want to hear in order for me to get the listing. So assume the sale. So that's part 1. We can call that 1A, and then there's 1B. Okay. So the second part of step number 1 is to begin to use what's called assumptive language patterns. So what you are thinking and what you are speaking have to be in perfect alignment. You know, you can't think that you're going to take the listing and say something along the line of like, should you decide to list with me? Like, do you see the incongruency? Okay. They got to be congruent. So when you're on a listing presentation, you know, you need to be, you know, implanting thoughts in the minds of the prospect by saying certain things along the line of like, you know, Josh, Luke, you know, as the agent that you have selected to represent you, I'm sure you want to know what it is that I'm going to do to market your home, right?
Yeah.
So you haven't even selected me. Yeah. You haven't even selected me as your agent, and I'm already speaking as if you've already made the decision. You're going to work with me. So that's step number 1. Step number 2 is to create that connection. How do I get you to like me? How do I get you to trust me? How do I get you to, you know, just follow my lead? And this is a very simple process. It's not, I mean, we can get very analytical and talk about like, you know, match breathing patterns, take a look at their eyes, how they are dilating, etc. But on the surface, it's a simple process of like, you know, mimic the rate of speech, mimic tonality, mimic, mirror match body language, which is an art that anyone can learn, and it doesn't take a long time. So that's a huge part of it, because once I get you to feel comfortable enough with me, then you're going to tell me anything and everything I want to know. If I can get you to feel comfortable with me, then you're going to answer my questions, but your answer absolutely nothing to do with the questions that I am asking. Now, the big mistake that people make when they talk about building rapport is they say, hey, try to find something you have in common with this other person. Look, common interest does not create rapport. Common behavior is what creates rapport. So Josh, just because you and I have a love for dogs, it doesn't mean I'm going to like you and work with you. Okay. So, I got to find, the commonality in our human behavior. And you can do that like literally in 30 seconds or less. Okay. So that's step number 2. Step number 3 is pre-qualifying. Okay. So pre-qualifying, we take this deeper than I'd say every single guru in the industry. Okay. Most people, they teach you to pre-qualify for like wants. What does the prospect want? And then need, which is there's a big difference between a want and a need. And problems to solve, ability, authority, timing, time frame. And that's how you discover people's motivation, which is a lot to pre-qualify for. But the difference that's making a difference for my clients and why they're converting their list 80+% of their listing appointments is because we pre-qualify for certain things that most people don't pre-qualify for. Like, I want to know how Luke makes decisions, because if I know how you make decisions, guess what? I can impact your decision. I want to know, I pre-qualify for how you think so I can alter your thoughts. Okay. I'm pre-qualifying for how does Josh process information so I could adjust, shift, and change my way of being and what is coming out of my mouth and what I'm doing in a way that he can process it without even having to think about it. And then all of a sudden, I know exactly what Josh wants. So my listing presentation, which is step number 4, is exactly what Josh wants.
So what are you probing for there? Like what are you doing to learn that? How do you learn how I process information?
It's simple. All I got to do is listen with my eyes and hear with my ears. Okay. And basically I'm asking you a specific set of questions and I'm paying attention to your IQs. Because your eyes are going to tell me everything I want to know. And then I'm listening to the words you're using because you're using the words in which you process information.
I'm very aware of my eyes right now, just so I'm like, wait.
Yeah, exactly.
Josh is very self-conscious of where he's looking. Oh, gosh. Wait, isn't it when you lie, you look down and to the left or something like that?
I think it's up and to the right. Like up and to the right is creative or something. Up and to the left is recalling.
Not necessarily, I mean, if you really want to catch somebody, if they're lying or not, you need to take a look at their pupils and, if they're dilating or not, et cetera. I mean, we can go very deep with this. And, that's why like sometimes, going out into the dating world, they're very careful and they're very nervous because they know I'm going places, no, so basically,
but you're talking about like repeating back the words that they use to emphasize. Like one of the tangible tips were like, how do they describe things, and how when they get excited, what are the words they're using, and you use those same words back when you're describing that, how excited you're going to be to market the home, or excited you're going to be to get it on the market, that type of idea.
For the most part, yes. So let me give you guys. I don't hold anything back. I don't care if somebody buys something from me or not. I mean, the right people raise their hand and say, I want to work with you, and I welcome those people. And I don't want to hold the information back from the people that either can't afford my services or are not ready for my services. I want to give them something that they can use now, and one day in the future, hopefully we can work with each other. Because, when you're a man of contribution, you got to contribute. And the way to do that, I'll give you guys the easiest way to do it is when you're speaking to somebody, you want to identify if they are visual, if they're auditory, or if they are kinesthetic. Okay. Kinesthetic meaning, more on the emotional side. And the way that you do that is, when you're speaking to them and you ask them a question, pay attention to their eyes. Are their eyes going up? If they are going up, then they're telling you that they're visualizing what you are saying. But if their eyes are steady in your eyes, okay, then they are auditory. So, with the ears, they're auditory, meaning you got to use more auditory terms. And then if they are kinesthetic, they're looking down to their heart. So their eyes are going down. So the eyes are telling you how they're processing your information. So if you're a kinesthetic person, I'd say something along the line of like, do you feel what I'm talking about? Okay, so now if you're a visual, I'm going to say, can you see what I'm talking about? Like clearly you're beginning to recognize, that the
I just got to chill, man. I don't know.
That's awesome.
I just got a little bit of a chill there.
And it's so
true. I'm thinking about it. Like if I get asked a question, I'm definitely a visual person and I always look up. I mean, that's amazing to be able to recognize that. And then to be able to convert it to the language that person would understand.
Right. So in order for you to be able to, pull this off, you have to work on your awareness. You have to work on active listening. That's why, one of the big major points in my training is, listen with your eyes and hear with your ears. Okay. And, eye contact is critically important. Now, there are specific, scripts, I'm not going to say scripts. There's specific, one-liners and one questions that we absolutely want to ask people. And one of the questions that we want to ask prior to a listing presentation, which I want your whole entire audience to write down and experiment with this, is this. And the question is, Mr. Seller, tell me specifically, what is it that you are looking for in a real estate professional like me? Okay, I want to repeat that one more time because I want people to hear it twice. Mr. Seller, tell me specifically, what is it that you are looking for in a real estate professional like me? Now, if, I wanted to repeat it twice because I want people to hear what I did. Like, what did you pick up on what I did?
Well, so I picked up that you are now putting them in a position where they are already visualizing you as their real estate agent, and then explaining to you what they want you specifically to do. So now they're locked in to you as their choice.
Okay, so that's part of it. Luke, anything? Right. Did you pick?
Dude, Josh, I thought you hit it on the head, man. That's really good.
Luke agrees with me.
Yeah, exactly. I just back him up to support him. No, I thought the same thing. I thought the main language there that attracted me was you being assumptive and assuming that, hey, what do you want to see in an agent like me? And making the assumption that, hey, I'm your real estate agent. And then you made it about them, which is, hey, this is not me trying to sell you. This is you telling me what you want, and it's all about you.
Right. So here's what I want everyone that's either watching this or listening to this to do. I want you to go back and play back that sentence twice and just listen to the emphasis on the last two words I used in that question, and how I paused before the beginning of those last two words and at the end. And basically what I'm trying to plant in your mind is for you to like me. Okay, so that's one part of it. The second part of it is I'm trying to discover the 2 or 3 things that you are looking for. So when it's time for me to go into step number 4 and do a presentation, everything that you're looking for is everything that just showed up.
So are you doing that piece on, I guess, on the calls or like if you're door knocking and trying to get the, lead there, you're doing it there. If you're doing a phone call, you're doing it there. That's when you're using that line? Or you?
I'm doing it right before either immediately before I go into my listing presentation or during the pre-qualifying call before the appointment.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So this is happening before the presentation because, some people, what they do, Luke, is they teach you what's called a canned listing presentation. Okay. I'm against canned listing presentations because, different people make decisions differently. Everybody's different. So, I'm all about like just stepping into the world of the client before I bring them into my world. And, that takes, personalization. And I'm just going to say humanism. You got to be a human and, you got to like, yeah. So that's what we focus on more than anything else. Now, and then, step number 5, usually you wouldn't even need to do step number 5 or step number 6. If you do step number 1, 2, and 3, 4 correctly, step number 5 and 6 just disappear. Step number 5 is to close, to ask for the order. And we have a simple way of doing that. And it's one simple question that we ask at the end of every single presentation. And the question is, Josh, based on our conversation today, what do you think would actually happen when you hire me? And now you're going to feed me back.
I noticed the pause that time.
Before hire me, right? Because that's what I'm planting in your thought. That's what I want you to do. I want you to hire me. It's just like in the commercial, ask your doctor if Viagra is right for you. I mean, they're telling you Viagra is right for you. There's the embedded command. I mean, it's crazy. Yeah, so we asked a question, and then the client pretty much says, well, I think based on what you told me, I think you're going to be able to sell the house quickly, you're going to market it good, and you're going to get us out of here in 30 days. And you just look them straight in the eyes and say, I agree, let me prove you're right, sign the contract, it's done. And then there's no objections. So it's like, and then step number 6, it's objections. But if you've done, if you follow the steps, there's no freaking objections. So it just drives me crazy of like, why are you spending so much time trying to learn how to handle the one thing might not ever come up during a presentation?
Yeah, no,
it's so true. So in objection handling, do you have a specific kind of framework that you teach people to handle objections though when they get them? Is there a framework people walk through? Is it just the memorization of the scripts?
Yeah, so we have a training called Objection Handling Mastery, you know, that's available at handlethisobjection.com. And basically it's about 10 hours of training on the one thing that you most likely don't need training on, which, I mean, I sell it because, you know, like I sell them what they want and then I give them what they need. So they get the value no matter what. Yeah, we have scripts for objections. We have more than one framework because, you know, one of the things that I do is I teach NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. Okay. And basically what I do is I have frameworks where I teach people how to create their own objection handlers. You know, because the biggest complaint that I get from people is like, hey, I downloaded this guru scripts and this guru scripts and this guru scripts, which all scripts are available online. And they're like, it just doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel like me. I can't do this. I thought I could. I can't. So that's like the biggest complaint I get. And that's why you can't find any of my scripts online, because I don't want to like give someone false hope.
No, I totally get that. And there's no magic script. Like one of the things we teach, we have a bunch of sales guys here. We teach them is, you know, you memorize, you internalize, you personalize, right? So you're memorizing a framework, you're memorizing an objection, overcoming an objection. But I always tell people, look, no actors won an Academy Award from reciting a script. Right? They personalized it. They made it their own. They got into the character's place, right? They internalized what every word meant and why they were saying the words. One of my questions, because I'm trying to, you know, I think one of the naysayers in the audience would be like, how realistic is it to be able to actually master and learn the idea of watching people's eye movement and whether or not they say this word and then you repeat it back? Because there's a lot of naysayers out there that says this mirror matching is a bunch of bullcrap, for lack of a better way of saying it. Even though they buy into the premise, they don't buy into the reality of it being applicable. What do you say to them?
I will say exactly what one of my mentors told me approximately 20 years ago when I was at the Mike Ferry organization. I had a great sales mentor over there. And, you know, I didn't buy into this world of affirmations when I saw those people get up and like, I'm powerful. And I'm like, this is freaking damn nuts. Like, you know, like I'm a shy introvert. Get me up to do all this crazy stuff. I was like, hell no. And he basically said, what if we're right and you're wrong? Because we're living in the house that you dream of living and we're driving the cars that you wish you can one day drive, and we have money and we don't have to think about it. What if we're right and you're wrong? He said, I want you to take it on for just 30 days, just as a challenge. And they were absolutely right. So for the naysayer, I will say to you this. I was like, you need to suspend your disbelief, okay? And if the person that's telling you to do this is someone that's doing the things that you wish you could one day do, just give it a shot for just 30 days. And at the end of 30 days, either give them the middle finger or send them a thank you note.
Dude, I love that. And that's actually, you know, I think that's such a great principle in life is like, you know, how do you judge a tree? By its fruits. Like, look at the fruits. Like, in marketing, what is the saying? The saying is don't look at what people tell you, look at what they do themselves. So if you're trying to sign up for a company or if you're trying to, like, don't look at what they're selling you, look at what they do themselves, because if it works, right, or you have clients that go before then that, you know, look at the fruits of what it's produced. But yeah, I think the hardest part about what you called NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, the hardest part is the being able to concentrate on that, training your mind. This is what I found in trying to implement it myself, is training your mind to be aware in those moments when everything's going on, to be aware of the subtle just nuances that are happening, the eye contact, the idea. Now, here's something I'll throw at you, because this is me selfishly just picking your brain. I used to believe in mirroring, right, from a sales perspective on the phone. So I'll give you a little bit of context on the phone. Like, I would train my guys, look, if you call the lady in Texas and she's really soft, match her soft voice. If you call the person in New York and they're, aggressive and angry, be aggressive and angry back. And what I've come to realize is, though tonality is good, you want to mirror people to a level of, like, you want to not mirror in a tone. You want to get them excited. And you have to have that enthusiasm. And it's not stupid enthusiasm, right? It's not the rah! Type enthusiasm. It's the, I want you, if you're low, and you're low in your demeanor and just in your excitement level, I'm going to be high energy. And I'm going to be up because I pull you up to my level. And people want to buy from people that they feel excited. Like, people don't want to buy from people they look at or look down at. They want to buy from people they feel are ahead of them. So it's like, at the same time, but I'm conflicted on it. That's why I'm asking you, because I think you'd have good insight, is part of me goes, it's nice to match the lady in Texas with low energy, but at the same time, she doesn't want to buy from someone that is not excited about the product and about changing lives and about the passion of what they're selling. What's your thoughts on that?
So basically what we do is the first thing that you want to do is you want to enter their world. So if they are soft-spoken, and they're, low tone, low energy, go there. And then slowly raise up your energy in your enthusiasm, and they will naturally follow without them even knowing that they're following your lead. But now, if you, from the get-go, if they are, for example, if they are like in a state of like, depression or they're just not feeling it and you're super excited and all that good stuff, it's a big mismatch. So the first thing you do is you match, and then you
pull up. No, I love that. I love explaining it that way. It's like you don't
frog
stay
in boiling water.
Right. So in the world of NLP, it's called pacing and leading.
Okay. So I love that. I love that because I do think that you have to pull people along, but I get the context of, hey, look, if you're coming at somebody, they're just going to be turned off in the beginning and they shut down because there's no camaraderie there. There's no feeling there. Now, that's amazing. All right, so I got to ask you, man, because we ask this to all successful people that come on, is, I'm a junkie for self-development and just what are the routines, what are the habits of successful people? I'm curious, as you look back over your years of doing this, 30,000 plus coaching calls, what are the habits that you have implemented in your life and business that have driven success for you?
Very good question. And I think 90+% of the people already know the answer to this. And it's just a matter of either doing it or not doing it. And I think the greatest habit is the habit of journaling every single day. It's the habit of asking yourself the right questions, because your questions is what shapes your focus, and your focus determines what you get done and what you don't get done. But if we could boil it all down into just like one big category that will have subcategories, it will be the habit of having a solid morning routine. And I guarantee you almost every single person you've ever interviewed talks about how important their morning routine is. So I would say is if you could get your morning routine right, you can get your life right. If you can't get your morning routine right, then you ain't going to get your life right. And, it's funny. I just did an episode on this on the Top Listing Agent Show podcast, and it was called "More Information Equals Less Results." Okay, more information equals less results. So I said, you don't need more information. You need the right rituals, and there's only 3 rituals that you need, which is 3 great habits. Number one, specifically for real estate agents, okay? So ritual number one is get in the zone ritual, which is basically another way of saying get your morning routine right. Ritual number 2 is find new business ritual, which is daily lead generation. Ritual number 3 is, sharpen my axe ritual, which is, taking your sales skills to the next level. Look, if you come to work with me, and number 1, I can get your mind right, I can get your skill right, you'll get the leads. it's common sense, but common sense is not common practice. So hopefully I've answered your question.
Yeah, man, that was great. What advice would you go back and give your younger self, that kid in high school, man? What advice would you give that kid if you could go back now?
It's a lot easier than you're making it out to be in your head. Once you get to the top, you're like, yeah, it required some hard work, but it was a lot easier than I've always made it out to be in my head. So, something, being around the Ferries for a long time, the one thing I got from, Tom Ferry is that money's easy to make.
Yep.
Money's easy to make. Okay. I got something from every single one of them, but that one I'll never, ever forget, because I've always, way back then, I thought it was very difficult to make money. Like at one time, I wanted to one day make $25,000 a year. Sometimes we make that in a day now.
No, man,
Awesome,
that's so powerful. That's such great advice. So much simpler than you make it out to be. I agree 100% with that.
All right, Shadi, thanks for coming on this podcast. Before we close out, let people know how they can connect with you. How can they learn about your training?
I think, if somebody just wanted general information, they can find me anywhere on social media or the website Chadi Bazzi. But if someone wanted a specific training on, the 4 pillars to, become a top listing agent, I can show them how to do that in 49 minutes or less. And they can access that for free on demand at toplistingagentwebinar.com.
Awesome. Now, I appreciate it again. Thanks for coming on and sharing that with us. Thanks for sharing that with the audience. Lots of tangible tips. I know you gave away some secrets there, so we appreciate it.
Yeah, seriously.
Thank you all so much for listening. To dive deeper into this episode, get all those resources and links that we mentioned, you can head on over to staypaidpodcast.com. You can also find the video for all of our episodes there as well. And if you're looking for ways to support the show, and we do appreciate that you do this, the first way is to rate us 5 stars on iTunes and to leave a comment. That helps the podcast get seen. Our featured review for today is from Matt Hastings via Apple Podcast. 5 stars. Title is both useful and inspirational. I like that the podcast is a combination of inspirational guests like Chadi Bazzi and tactical content like what Shadi Bazzi gave us that I can implement right away. So thanks, Matt, for leaving that review. Head on over to iTunes, leave your own review. And the best way is to tell a friend about this podcast and share on your social media. If you want to get hold of me or Luke, you can email us at podcast@remindermedia.com. And, of course, find us on Instagram. We are at Stay Paid Podcast. For this episode of Stay Paid, I'm Joshua Stike.
And I'm Luke Acree, guys, and I'll close with this. An amazing episode. Like, you're going to have to go listen back because there's so many golden nuggets in those 6 steps that I think you can apply. I'd encourage you, go check out Shadi's stuff. I think the one that you can apply right away, though, and, I'm a testament to this here at Reminder Media. We have about a little over 100 sales reps on the phone. And one of the things we teach here is that assumptive close, like assume the close. If you don't go in with the mindset that you've already closed this deal, it is incredible the effects that has on your script, the effects that has in how you engage with people. So start asking yourself now, are you assuming the close? Are you already building that mindset where you're assuming the close, and implement what Shadi talked about, which is the journaling, the affirmations when you're journaling in the morning? How easy is that for us to literally do tomorrow? So don't think about it, do it. Remember, the difference between a top producer and a mediocre producer in every single industry I've worked in is top producers take action. Take action on that today.